go here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner, can we ask you first of all about the letter that you sent to Speaker Quinn this morning? Is that in any way an admission that there need to be some changes in Stop and Frisk?
Yeah, we're always looking at our policies and practices. We've had these discussions going on for a while. We've made some changes at one time, then we continue to adjust. So we thought it was appropriate to send this letter just before this hearing to show the changes and adjustments that we've made. And we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to look at it. We'll continue to train. We put in place this training regimen that's going on now up in the range. We're training first our impact officers, but we'll be training other patrol officers as well.
What specifically was not working the way you wanted it to work?
Well, we found that some of the forms were being made out when they didn't have to be made out. I think there was a lack of perhaps specific information as to when these forms should be made out. We also want to continue to stress civility and professionalism and courtesy when interacting with the public. So this is, to a large extent, a refresher. We want to continue to do that sort of thing.
The mayor seemed completely unapologetic about the practice.
Would you say that again, please?
The mayor yesterday was completely unapologetic about the practice. He said it has to go forward, it's necessary. He didn't talk about any kind of changes. Do you have the same?
I think the mayor is absolutely correct. This is a very important tool for the police department. Today is, I think it's the 138th day of the year. We have 133 murders. This is the lowest murder count that we've ever had since 1963 on May 17th. I mean, other cities are experiencing a significant increase in murders. We're not. We're keeping this city safe. And what happens is people get used to it. They expect it. I think one of the most telling numbers, again, that we put out, but I don't know if it resonates enough, is in the decade that Mayor Bloomberg has been mayor, 5,628 fewer murders than the previous decade. And I would submit to you, as I said in the hearing, if history is any indication, the vast majority of those lives saved are people of color.
Any reaction to certification by the judge of a class action?
I'm not speaking at all about
What's
this
the
litigation.
reason
By the way, litigations are going on since 2008. So I would assume that it's going to be going on for a while.
Commissioner Quinn said that these new measures that you outlined in the letter are not adequate enough.
Well, you have to speak to.
You said that sometimes the reports were being written out and perhaps they shouldn't have. So do you think that the number of stop and frisk that we have, that physical number, is that too high and maybe not that many stop and frisk happen?
Yes, perhaps. And also, I think that the people are talking about what the number was in 2002. There's no question about it that officers were not recording stops that were being made in 2002, and we didn't have the capacity in place to capture that information. So the notion that somehow we've gone from whatever numbers they're using, 90,000 to the most recent number, it's simply not. It's not correct. We did not have the computer capacity. We put it in. We used our own internal funds to put in a system to capture the stop in question and to capture the form. So, I think some of this information has perhaps been lagging in getting out.
If you had 41,000 officers, would you need to be as reliant on stop and frisk? If you had 41,000 officers, like you did in 2001, would you need to be as reliant on stop and frisk?
The stops are situational. Depends on what officers encounter on the street. Now, if you had more officers on the street, people wouldn't be acting perhaps in the same way. So you could argue, at least theoretically, that you have fewer stops.
What's the reason specifically for
the innovations that you have put in place? What effect do you expect them to have on the stop and frisk on the street? What impact?
Well, I just want to ensure that the interactions are as professional as they can, possibly be. I think the forms will ideally be more accurately filled out because it's the training process, and perhaps they will go down because, as I say, some of them were not necessary.
What is your Commissioner? What is your specific reason for republishing the racial profiling order? You mentioned that in your letter to Quinn.
It was mentioned as a concern by some people. We, by the way, I put out when I came in as police commissioner in 2002, this policy. The city council then took the policy that I put in place and then codified it about a year after that. So we've had this policy in place, but some people forget that. So I thought it was helpful to republish it.
The video and the training that's going on at Rodman's Neck, can you really break that down and talk about what's being done? You're making videos to train officers, you're going over it.
No, well, we've had a series of videos. It has to do with legal threshold, that sort of thing, what needed to stop someone, to question them, and sometimes frisk. And I said in my letter that we've just done the fifth, or in the process of filming the fifth video in this series. Now, the training at Rodman's Neck is not video training. It's actually some hands-on training. It's done by attorneys. It's done by a cadre of instructors in our training division. But it's an area that I think requires sort of constant refresher training and constant focus on our part.
What message do you have with this retraining? A lot of people on the street will be happy to hear this because although it is a tactic the police use, some people are just very hurt by it and upset when they're stopped unnecessarily.
Well, I understand that some people, you're taking away, at the very least, you're taking away people's time. So I understand people may not be happy with it, but I can also assure you that I go to communities of color, people want more. So
they want more stop and frisk.
Absolutely. It is not a universal opinion in a lot of communities. So, and we've had meetings with community groups, and I had a lot of meetings with community groups. So it's not a universal reaction. But what we're trying to do is make certain that it's done as professionally as possible, that the forms are properly prepared, that proper respect is shown, and it's done according to the law.
And Commissioner, what about the idea that Councilman Ballone's talking about linking tort claim payouts, which surfaced a lot here today, to precincts? Because we know from cops that linking, having each precinct record or have it be known what each precinct racked up in the way of tort claims, because as you've proven with cops, that would get measured, get managed.
No, we have you can't do that because there's turnover in precincts. You have commanders turnover, you have staff turnover, you have police officer turnover. I don't see any value in that. What we do have is a lessons learned committee that we put in place that goes through all of these tort claims. This is a very litigious environment, and that is the reality of New York City. And people, and one of the things that people do is they go in with a notice of claim that or looking for money that's under a certain threshold, knowing that the city, with the city's resources, may not go to trial.
So the city is settling claims they shouldn't?
Well, I've said that all along. There's nothing new here. I think the city is way too willing to settle a lot of claims. And a lot of it has to do with just lack of resources. And people and litigators know that. So they know where to go. They know what level of command
Commissioner, what said this morning at the very beginning, he said that crime overall is up 5%, and then he gave some figures. Are those figures correct that he said crime is up 5% overall?
No, I'm not certain. It's like 3.2%. Murders are down 20%. Rapes are down, I think, 6%. Robberies are up 6%. Grand larcenies are up. We talked about that with the cell phones, that sort of thing. Grand larceny auto is down to 2,700. In 1990, we had 147,000 grand larceny auto thefts in this city. May 17th of 2012, we have 2,700 grand larceny auto arrests. But what happens is people take this for granted. We understand that. So some crimes are up, some crimes are down. But overall, crime is down 30%.